Hi, I'm a little nervous about this video, mostly because I did not get very much sleep last night. I had to get up super early, and this is, officially, like, my first video that isn't an alter introduction since this channel started. This is what I originally made this channel for, which is information about people with DID and stuff like that. So the last videos I had that actually explained anything about the disorder itself were my first couple of videos where I talked about, in the first video I think I talked about like just the general gist of it, and then I made a video defining some basic terms and stuff. So in this video I'm going to address questions that you really shouldn't ask people with DID or OSDD, but they're unfortunately questions that we can hear a lot. But I'm going to go over these kinds of questions, what kind of questions you shouldn't ask, why they're rude or hurtful or just none of your business, and just go over some examples of what questions are appropriate. So yeah, let's get into it. So the first questions, that group of questions, are, is DID even real? Can you provide sources that prove that it's real? Google is free. Google's literally free, and there are also some systems who do open themselves up to these kinds of questions and answering these kinds of questions, so unless the person you're talking to has specifically said, I'm open to answering these kinds of questions, we aren't all like your walking DID, OSDD encyclopedias. We're not just ready to throw out all the sources that prove that systems have existed for a very long time and that there's evidence to show that. Google's free. Yeah. Another common thing that a lot of people with DID or OSDD get asked is, what caused your illness, or what are the details of your trauma? And asking for details of someone's trauma is very rude, regardless of if they're a system or not. Asking any traumatized person to disclose that information is super rude. For a lot of people, retelling their trauma is reliving their trauma, and that's not something that you want to force someone to go through. Traumatized people will open up when they're ready to and when they want to. So if someone trusts you, you don't have to force that information out of them. They might tell you in their own time. Be supportive, don't be invasive. One of the worst questions to hear for someone with DID or OSDD is probably, are any of your alters dangerous, or will any of them hurt me? And that's just really hurtful, because that's pretty much the only way people ever see us. People either see us as something that isn't real or doesn't exist, or something that is just a murderer in a horror movie. So don't ask that. It's very rude. Yeah. How do your friends or partners deal with you? This is implying that we're a burden on the people we love, and I shouldn't have to explain why that's rude. Even if that's not your intentions, and like maybe you're trying to figure out how to be supportive based on how other people are being supportive, there's better ways to word it. I think a pretty bad question to ask someone with DID or OSDD is, does your family know? Will you ever tell them? This illness develops from early childhood trauma, which often means that a system's relationship with their parents could be anywhere from non-existent to horrible to rocky. There's usually some kind of factor, there's some, like, parental issue that has to exist for DID to develop, and that can range in severity, and even for people who don't have a super bad relationship with their parents, there might be other factors going into the fact that they won't tell their family. I mean, remember the kind of stigma there is against us, like, movie murderers, you know? So yeah, that's not a great question to ask. Again, it's one of those things that the person might talk about on their own. It's not something that you should really be poking into yourself. And now on to the really bad set of questions, which are, how do you have sex? Can you have sex? What do you do if you switch during sex? How do alters who have a different gender than the body have sex? And quite frankly, it is none of your business. That's super invasive, super rude. You don't go asking random people on the street how they have sex. You don't go asking your singlet friends how they have sex. So I don't understand why some people think that's okay to ask just because someone's a system. So, that's none of your business. The only people who have to know anything about that are the system and anyone who they are sexually involved with. No one else has to know any information about that. And it's super rude to ask. It is extremely rude. You don't ask people details of their sex life. Unless, like, you are a part of that sex life. So yeah. Those are all the questions that I could think of for questions that are, like, bad to ask and that you shouldn't ask. Kind of examples of that and why not to ask them. So now I'm going to give kind of like an idea of what is okay to ask. And again, and this might vary from system to system. Some systems might not be okay with having any questions asked of them, or, you know, and other systems might be okay with certain questions, but not others. But overall, it's generally not super, it's not bad to ask, like, for certain information about alters. Like, it's generally not, like, a rude thing to ask for like, alters pronouns, names, ages, stuff like that. Like, asking for things that, like, what different alters enjoy, things like that. Those are good questions to ask. And a lot of systems who try to be open with their friends about being systems are often, like, very open to those kinds of questions and really like it when their friends ask them more questions like that. A really important question that I think people who are close to systems should be asking are, how can I support you? How can I support you when you're struggling, and things like that. And I think that's just a really important question to ask anyone who you're close to, who you know has some kind of mental illness, and things like that. Asking how to help when someone's dissociating, how to notice when someone's dissociating or switching, things like that. With your friends, it's usually okay to ask who's fronting right now. That's usually an okay thing to ask. Some systems might not be into that, but, and then again, I don't know why I said again, I didn't mention this before, but always, if you're not sure what a system is comfortable with talking about and stuff like that, a really good starter question is, what can I ask you questions about? What things are you uncomfortable with me asking questions about? What are you comfortable with me asking questions about? So that's... that's basically it. I am very tired, so I'm not sure how well I handled this, but, yeah, I hope it was some level of helpful, and educational. If there's anything specific you want to hear me talk about next week, let me know in the comments, and if I don't get any comments, I've got like a list of topics to talk about. I'll just pick something at random. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. But have a good day. If you're not having a good day right now, I'm sure it will get better. And if it doesn't, there's always going to be a better day in the future. I will see y'all next week.